there were a huge amount of inquiries. I'll sound like a politician here. Huge amount of inquiries over when I mentioned that I could do one of these things on modeling when I put that thing together on the paint schemes. So I had basically all of this stuff in a PDF file. It was just a matter of taking the slides out of there and putting them in a PowerPoint. That's something I want to point out. A lot of times people struggle on this Zoom call to get up whatever it is they want to show. If you take a few minutes and dump everything into a PowerPoint, it comes right up, as you can see. Well, anyway, what I'm going to talk about is taking an Atlas RS1 and turning it into one for the decorated for the Minneapolis and St. Louis, or detailed, I should say, for the Minneapolis and St. Louis. You know, nowadays, the manufacturers make so many beautiful locomotives that are road specific that if I were to start over again, I would just pick a railroad that had an engine already done that I didn't have to screw with. But that's, you know, that's the way to do it. You know, to hell with what you like. Take what,
even if they did,
what they make.
Bad air from where they are.
But anyway, this slide shows some of the changes that I made. You know, the grab irons, I'll talk some about this later, but while I have this picture up, I can go through all this stuff. If we start the front with the grab irons, 3 of those are regular Tichy drop grabs, and 2 of them, the 2 second ones up, are hand bent. And then the one on the engineer's side is actually a ladder like the other guys. So he has to have a little L-shaped piece added to that one. Then over the radiator intake there's basically it's a cover for a rod that they would put canvas on to put over that in the wintertime. And then on the roof, we have on the sandboxes, they added class lights. They took bells off steam engines as trophies and put them on their steam engines. And when they did that, then they had to move that walkway that goes over the top of the radiator vent over to one side. And then you have to reconstruct those vents up on the roof, the louvers. And then you can see that I added the lift rings, and then further back behind, in front of the cab, the older Athearn engine or the older Atlas engines came with a rectangular vent for the generators, and the M and St. L ones had kind of an oval shaped one. Well, it was oval on the ends. So we redid that. On the roof, there was the cab vent that's on this unit is a round one in the center, and the M and St. L had one that was square and opened from the middle on the roof. And then they made their own winterization windows, and those have to be added. And because the one on the engineer's side does not line up with the partition between the windows, you have to add a piece of styrene to hold it on. And I really didn't do anything to the frames. The frames were all cast on these. So the only thing I really did to them, as I'll show later, is cut the bell off.
Is that a wire? Is that a wire going to the class light?
Yeah, those they're detail precision scale. Bowser sells them now. 280 is the number of those class lights, and they come with a wire on them. And on this unit, I sometimes clip the wire off. Sometimes I get fancy and I'll slide a knife blade under that cover for the plug-in there and lift that up and then stick the wire underneath it. But on this one, I just kept the wire on and just ran it down there. And you can see on the fireman's side, they used a different window than they did on the engineer's side. So the first thing we have to do is take that walkway off because we have to move it over. And it's easier just to cut it off so you don't have to fool with holes. And here you can see the holes that are left. One of them popped out, so I'll have to fill that one.
Mhm.
But this is where it was. And then we've got to make it so that we can put it over on the side. So we file down everything on the roof. Um, and you can see that I don't, this is not a real heavy rasp, but it takes a good cut, so you don't have to do it so often. And once you get that leveled off, then I move the walkway over. And what I usually do is I'll cut off the the length of what went into the hole on this side of the corner supports, and then put them in the hole, the other side in the holes. That makes any sense at all. And then this picture shows the top one is the way the model comes with that kind of arch on the front of the vent. And on the bottom one, I thought, well, what happens if I just cut that off straight? Well, it leaves a hole. You have to fill it. But, it's a little bit extra work, but if you're picky enough, it's something you need to do. And then this shows me starting to make the new louvers. Uh, I just, I can't remember what size. I think it's like 10 by 20 or 10 by 30 styrene strips that I used. And I make a box around the outside and then fill it in with different pieces. And it's really, this is the most tedious part of the whole job, because if you try and put them all in there at once, they're going to fall over. They're going to bang against the other ones and unstraighten them. And I use a lot of words that I haven't used since I was in high school. But anyway, this one, this one shows me filing off the vent on top of the roof. This engine here is a newer version, and you can see it already came with the wire grabs and the wire lift rings. And then here I've added the square, just a piece of styrene strip. And then this guy is an older one, and I had to fabricate a little piece to cover up that rectangular one with the oval ends. And you can see here I've added the these lift rings can be bought. They're Detail Associates. This one shows an engine that came painted, and then because I had to scrape off what was on there and add the wires, it gets a little messy when you try and touch things up. When I first started doing this, I got real fancy with that bar, that shield that goes over that rod, and it sets at an angle and has little triangular pieces on the end. So what I've done is taken a piece of styrene and then glued other shorter pieces to it at an angle on each end. And then I take sprue nippers and cut them off. And then as I got doing this more, I said, screw that, and just put a piece of styrene across the top. It's just as good. I don't know why I've got another picture of this engine in here, but this one is the one that came with the factory grabs on it. All I had to add was the three pieces at the top. And then these windows, these cab windows that are at the top, Joe Benish originally had these photo etched. They come flat, you have to bend them. And he ran out, he sold them all. And so here within the last year or two, a guy named TJ Van Horn and Jason Clockey got together and made an arrangement with Joe, and they had more made. So if anybody's looking for these, you can contact one of those two guys, or I can put you in contact with one of those two guys to get these windows. And a lot of times what I've done is instead of trying to bend that whole window, I just cut off the sides, because they left the sides on in the summertime as wind deflectors when they were using these things on locals. So basically, I just left the sides, cut the sides off, and glued those onto the sides of the cab, and then used old newspaper for the canvas windscreens or windshields. And this shows a set of those after I painted and decaled them. And then you hope like hell that when you glue them on the engine, the stripes line up. And then here, this shows me just taking a pair of flush cut pliers and snipping off that belt that's molded onto the chassis. And I just dab on some black flat paint, call that good enough. One thing that I used to do, and I haven't done it lately, and one reason is I don't have these parts anymore, but there's a gap where the coupler sits down through the pilot, and that should be filled in. And Proto 2000 made these little pieces that were part of it. It came with the footboards attached to it also, and it went on to their pilots on their Jeeps, I think. And I had some extra ones of those, and then I just cut the thing down and glued it in there. And then you can see here when I put some blue paint on it, and it fills that void. What I've done lately that I need to do with some of the engines that I have is just take a block of styrene and just file it into a point like that and glue that in there. And now I'm going to show you some models that I've done that I don't have anymore, but I have these models, but they're not these. This is this Cliff Hagman used to come over to my other railroad back in 2008 area. And he had a pretty good perspective on taking train pictures. And I've always liked his photographs. And here's another one that he took. Again, this locomotive. I have, I think it's 446 now. I'm not sure. I think it is. They made those two engines were factory painted, and they made 3 numbers of each because they were engines that they actually had 3 engines of in those paint schemes. This is one that I painted myself. I've probably done 4 or 5 of the engines in this paint scheme. And then this was an interesting story is back in, I think it was December of 08, I had an article in Craftsman on this layout. And a friend Dave Murphy had a good camera, and he was taking all the pictures for the article. And he took this picture because they wanted a photo for the cover. They wanted it vertical format. And I've chopped this down to make it fit in here. But this was the photo that he did that we thought would work out okay. And I sent that to him. And this was like 3 or 4 days before they were not due for publication, but deadline was up. And they write me back. I'm at work, and I had a job where I had a computer in an office. And so I emailed this to them. They emailed me back and said, well, it's going to be the December cover, so we need snow. And we need it tomorrow. And I said, what the heck do I do for snow? I think they said use baking powder or something. So this is that same location. This is the photo that I took with a little Sony camera that you would put in your pocket camera, digital camera that you would put in your pocket. At the time, that's all I had. So I couldn't get much depth of field. So I had to be careful how I placed the camera. And then I did a lot of fooling around because the trees had leaves on them. I had to get rid of those and make them look like winter trees. And besides that, the snow and the lights. This was done with some, I think the trees were done with in paint. But there was a program that a friend gave me years ago before I ever had Photoshop that I was able to do things like add the headlights and the exhaust with. That I haven't been able to figure out how to do with Photoshop. But this is the latest engine that Atlas came out with probably 5 years ago now or so. And they did this in at least three paint schemes. And I bought this engine new when they came out with sound. And I thought, that's good. And the thing sounded like a tin can. So you have to get the scale speakers and put in there. Then the engine sounds really nice. Another one of Cliff's pictures. Um, that I don't know. This is probably the same engine that we were looking at before. And this is a Dave Murphy one of, I have this engine now, but not this one. This one's gone. And this one kind of shows the top of the engine. This one, it looks like I actually didn't screw with that vent for the generator. It looks like it's rectangular. I don't have it anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. Matter of fact, if you look at these pictures, there's nothing in these pictures I have anymore. Everything's gone. But this one here has been renumbered for resale because 446 is the number that would be on this when it was built, and that happens to be my birthday month and year. So that's why I did this. And then somebody else wanted it, and they wanted it renumbered for in the 200s, which they changed in 1956. So this one's been renumbered and it's going to be going away. But it shows on here the canvas that they would roll up that covers that radiator inlet. And what I did is take a piece of tissue paper and take it down to one ply and wrap it around a piece of wire and paint it with some Floquil tan or earth, and then slide the wire out and stick it on the model with the paint wet. And they seem to stay there. Yeah, this is another one that's been renumbered. Or maybe it was numbered this way to start with. I don't know. But anyway, this is a 200 numbered. Another one in a similar paint scheme. If you to the last one, these are really close. If you look at the way the stripe comes down to a point on this end, it's higher than it is on this engine. And then this was another one that I think this one here is one of two that I sold to Dick Berry. And then I ended up getting him back again when he passed away. And this might be one of those. I can't remember. I got two back from Dick, and I don't think this was it. This one I don't have anymore. As a matter of fact, the only thing in this picture, if I look at it, that I probably still have is the caboose. Now, that was the end of that. Now I'm making this thing up, requested to do this thing in St. Louis RPM on that toy caboose that I think I showed here before, this Bachmann caboose, and turn it into something that actually looks more prototypical, or at least more a better model. And I was going to do two of these things to take up the 45 minutes. And then I found out that they have a theme every year. And this year it's on weathering. So I decided that I was going to change half of my program to weathering. And so this one here I pulled out. But I'm going to make this Reefer. And this Reefer was built in 31 and then it was rebuilt again in 55. And the Minneapolis, St. Louis, and the Soo line for sure had quite a number of these cars. And there may be other railroads that did as well. But I think this whole project started. And then after that was, if I go back, and when they came in 55, you can see it says EC 5 of 55. EC is East Chicago, where the okay, union people had their shops. And then when MSNL changed their image in middle of 56, these things were also some repainted in this more contemporary paint scheme. One of the reasons I wanted to build one of these is because of this photo that was taken by the depot in Mason City. And then here's the first, I built several of these over the years. To start with, I used an Atlas wood reefer. And then I decided that a friend of mine that's passed away, Stan Rydarowitz, he had made this thing using just a Tyco reefer. He hadn't done anything else to it other than repaint it and decal it. And I thought, well, gosh, I looked around and thought, well, maybe there's a better way of making this thing more like the prototypes. And Ted Collada had talked to me about when he was coming out with a magazine. I forget what it's called, Prototype Modeler or some kind of modeler prototype journal or something. And he wanted me to do some kit bashes for it. I thought, well, this one would make a good kit bash. So anyway, knowing what I knew at the time, I put this thing together, and I knew they had diagonal panel roofs. And the only diagonal panel roofs I knew of were the Intermountain boxcar roofs. So that's what I used. But as we will see, that is not the best choice. Well, I'll show you some more photos here of the class car. I don't, this one's probably been repainted. I can't read the date on it, or I could blow it up maybe and see. But this was one of the first ones I did. This goes way back to, gosh, in the 90s, I'll say, late 90s, this guy. And again, he's got the Intermountain roof. The ends on this thing are, I'll get to that in a little bit, but they're detail west ends that are dreadnought ends for the ends. Another picture of one. It's surprising how many photos there are of these things, but here's the candidate. Is this Tyco toy car. And it has the right ends. It has 4 dreadnought ends, but it has the roof on it is a rectangular panel instead of the diagonal panel. Otherwise, you can just paint this thing up, but I'm not going to do that. I turned it into a flat kit. What you look at in this picture is at the top is a Reefer diagonal panel roof that Intermountain came out with. And the difference between it and the boxcar is the end panels next to the ice bunkers are flat. They have the raised, 2 raised bubbles on them. And you could use the boxcar one, because I don't have any more of these. This is the last one I had. You could use the boxcar one and just file them, those 2 sections flat. And then the sides were just the cut roof side, and roof was cut off. Roof is at the bottom, the roof that came on the car. And then the ends are basically the same, just a better quality end with white ones, which are the detail west. And then the silver ones are the ones that were on the car. And then for extra parts on the car, I've used Tichy grab irons on it. I've got some Tichy ladders laid out here, some pieces left over from different kits to get the brake rigging that goes on the B end. And also underneath, these are those brown pieces are Ertl that I've taken off their USRA box cars that should have K brakes on them. So this is basically putting together, I don't know how many of you have built flat kits, but they're nothing special to put together other than getting the sides to line up. And so with plastic, it's easier than with resin because you can use liquid cement. And it's tacky, it allows you time to work with it. And then the roof, unfortunately, had this rib all the way around it, the perimeter, and it wouldn't fit down on the car. So I've got to get rid of all of that. So here I'm using a chisel to get most of it off, and then I'll sand the rest of it down. And I use like 100 grit sandpaper. This is the bottom of the Tyco car I'm going to reuse. And I basically taken off the brake parts that were on the bottom. You can see a hole there where I had to rip one of the pieces out of the bottom. but it's on the underside of the car. It shouldn't be seen on other railroads. Most railroads, on mine, you get to see the bottoms because they tip over. But anyway, I'm just filing it flat here on the top of the bottom. And then this shows the roof. I had in my scrap box. I was surprised that I had some actual Intermountain roof rich ice hatches, and I also had 7 of the little hinge pieces that you go through the holes and hook onto the thing so you can lift it up. And one of them went ping, and I was able to make 2 facsimiles out of brass flat rod, and for the ones that were missing, and I put them on the inside. I also didn't have the right latches because they come with those ratchet latches for either having a ventilator service where the hatches would be open or closed, but I didn't have any closed ones, so I had to use the open ones in the closed position. But we managed to get it done. And then the running board is left over from a resin kit. And then underneath, I ended up finding this piece. That brown piece in the middle has the cylinder and the rods and levers on it, and that was all one piece. So I just glued that on, and then added the 2 Earl pieces. And then here's that end from the outside with all the brake rigging on that end, on the B end of the car. And being as these came in the late 50s, the placard boards had been lowered on these cars. One thing I didn't do on this car, I forgot about it, is there's a notch at the top of the end, and I should have put a little piece of styrene in there, but I forgot to. And then this is that magazine, Prototype Railroad Modeling. This was the volume 1, and that had that article in it. And so I took some pictures that were in that article, and this is maybe one of them. But it shows the prototype car at the bottom and the model that I made at the top. This would be the original paint scheme from 55. And then I was a little more aggressive with how I cut this one apart. You can see I didn't spare any of the horses when I was cutting this thing down. It was cut and rip. All I was interested in was square sides. And then this shows that that's the same picture showing that roof where I should have filed that panel flat, but didn't know any better at the time. And then this is the later car. Now this is the car I just built. This was built for Jason Plocky, and I painted it because I could paint it before I put it together. And but I don't think I did that. I think I put it together and I painted the sides orange and without the ladder and the grabs, and masked it and painted the rest of it black, and then added the ladder and the grabs and painted them with a brush probably. And then this is the car after Jason decaled it and weathered it. And he turned it into something that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's that, all done. So I'm finished.
All right. Well, that was quick, but very informative. Thank you, Clark.
How quick was it? What time is it? Half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done.
I hope you kept the little made in Hong Kong part on the bottom of the car. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to look next time I go to Jason's, see if I did.
Hong Kong.
Now I'm doing a tank car now that was an AHM one. They won't take near as much. It's kind of interesting because I've had this little car for a long time, and I took a look at it and I took a picture of it and I put it in PowerPoint. I added arrows to all the stuff that needs to be replaced. And then I asked on the internet about this particular car, and I was referenced to an article. A guy had done it, and he had changed all the same parts that I'm going to change. So it's kind of interesting how sometimes modelers can think the same things without knowing it. We live in parallel universes.
Right. All right, very good. Well, thank you so much, Clark. That was I know you got requests for that, and of course our somebody on our YouTube channel had requested that as well. So
Well,
I'll have
hopefully that does what they wanted, gets that
yeah, I don't know.
information.
I'll have to track them down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so is there anybody else who has anything to present tonight? All right. Well, we will.
I can look for something else. It take me a second.
Sure.
All right, let me get rid of this.
Many of you will be attending the South Bend Convention starting next week. We're setting up on Thursday and it goes Friday and Saturday. So if you need any information on that, of course, we're more than happy to provide it. But those of you that are helping with that, thank you very much.
Greg, I've got something, might be able to show for a few
ahead.
minutes if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, go
let's do
ahead.
it.
Let me go ahead and share the screen.
Yeah.
And let's see. Is that showing now? Is
Not
that
yet.
shared?
No.
With Zoom. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, let me blow that up. And let's see, I'm going to escape out of that. I'm going to go back to the beginning.
I'm just seeing that as a little thumbnail in the corner of my screen. Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, I see
you
it
might.
one.
It's not updating for you yet, but I see it full size.
Most or many of you know that my layout downstairs is the Blackhawk lines, and it's a combination of the Illinois Central and Northwestern running across mostly the Illinois Central Iowa division, across Illinois and Iowa. And my modeling period is early 90s. I wanted to catch it before the Northwestern and the IC disappeared. And I like some of the more modern engines at that time, but some of my friends have been trying to convince me that what I really should have modeled was the Chicago Central CC&P.
Yeah.
Because I got the right time period.
Yeah.
I kind of resisted that because I like the Northwestern and the IC, but and also because there just weren't any CCP models at the time. But in the meantime, I've been collecting a file of photos that they've sent to me. And if I can figure out how to get to the screen, and I need to get to the clicker here. So I need to move the,
There it is. It's over on the right in the middle.
there we go.
That paint scheme that you have on that engine up, I just masked that off and painted it today. I'm really
there it is.
interested to see what it's going to look like when I take
Yep.
the masking tape off. But that's a pain in the butt.
Yes, it was. And that was that was clearly one of the earlier schemes. They didn't have the stripes along the sill on this one, but that was one of the earlier Northwestern schemes for sure.
Yeah, I'm doing the
So-
one the bald one that's been repowered.
Okay. So I'll just run through this. This is just a collection of photos that were sent to me. I'm not sure where they were all taken, and they were taken in a number of different places. So we'll just kind of step through them, and I think you'll see some good ones in here. IC Jeep, 7 or 9, and love the bell up on the hood.
You know, that's another one of those engines that Athearn came out with those super duper spark arresters on them, and you
Yep.
just want to say, why don't I just model this river?
Wow.
Typical IC consist, GM&O and ICG.
Mhm.
This one I know was in Wallace Yard in Freeport. Not sure where this was taken. This could have been almost anywhere. This is in Rockford. The bridge behind the train is the Rock River. And this is the branch, I'm drawing a blank on the branch, but this is the branch that went northeast out of Rockford and up into Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Scales Mound, Illinois. The main line and the siding track ran behind the station over here, way to the right. I'm not sure where this was taken. Jeep 30.
Pretty new looking.
Yeah.
And yep, pretty new. This is in Dubuque, or
Dubuque,
East Dubuque, actually.
Yep.
Coming out of the tunnel, the Q or the BN. Not sure what it was at the time this was taken, but whoever took the picture must be right on the edge of the bridge over the Mississippi. You can see the guardrails for the bridge track in the lower left, and that's it's like an SD40 or SD42.
Oh, there you go.
Jeep 10 coming out of the tunnel, crossing over the BN tracks.
Looks like a model almost.
And that is a spot on my layout. I have a lot of scenery work to do down there, but that is a spot on the layout. And he's just about to, I'm trying to figure out where the photographer was to take that picture.
No kidding.
Probably on that signal that was there.
It might have been,
Yeah.
or on the bridge.
Yeah.
And the IC had some northeastern style cabooses.
Yeah, I made those out of taking that crappy Tyco car and moved it, the cupola to the center. And you
Yep.
can make that caboose.
Yeah. And this is the other side of the tunnel. This is in East Dubuque. He is just about to duck into the tunnel. So this must be taken from up above the tunnel entrance. Not sure where this was taken. It could have been almost anywhere, I think. It looks a little bit like Galena or near Scales Mound, but not sure exactly. Another this is probably, yep, Jeep 10 with the short, with the low nose and the frog eye headlights.
Wow.
And Chicago Central, they did have a nice scheme when they finally got around to their own scheme. Nice bright red.
The first ones, they just had that CCP on them. Always
Yep.
remind me of a Soviet locomotive.
Yeah,
The way
think
they
they're-
the font that they use, they need a sickle is all they needed. They had it.
There may be, I think there's some of those a little further on here. Patch job. Still in the IC paint, but with the revised green diamond. Nice looking consist.
Yeah.
And for the CCP, this is actually a relatively short consist, 2, 4, 5, 6 engines.
Yeah, they used a lot of them.
Not sure where this was taken, but yeah, countryside is pretty lush.
Yeah.
These were some, doesn't really fit the CCP. These were some cabooses that I think Quentin Shinny did for Mike Burgett. These were taken, I think, before they went up to Mike's house.
Hmm.
Not sure where this was taken, but interesting collection of power. You know, almost looks like Milwaukee Road over there on the far left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Frisco.
Frisco or ex-Frisco.
Yeah.
This may have been in the town of Lena, which is a little burg just west of Freeport. The building over here looks like a building that I think I remember seeing in Lena.
Yeah, we've always tried to look for Ole while we're down there.
Yeah.
There's all the Ole and Lena jokes.
In some of the videos I've seen of the Chicago Central, it was always interesting to me how many Conrail engines ran on the CCP.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure whether these were engines that Conrail got rid of and the CCP picked up, or if that was power that was on loan for some reason or in transit.
Yeah, they probably stole them and then paid them back the miles.
Yeah. They needed the power.
Oh, those are neat.
XIC, and I think that looks like GMSK.
Oh,
It's an interesting set of initials. I don't know.
Huh.
Look on the cab too.
Right.
GMSR.
Something like that. Yeah. R or K, I'm not sure which.
Oh.
Here's a beat up IC engine.
Oh.
Wow.
Hmm.
I
That's
think
one
you
for
call
the
that a
rust.
beater.
Yeah, rust bucket guys to try and copy. Look at the spark arresters, or they just
Yep.
put buckets over the exhaust, one or the other.
Yeah.
And caboose is
And it looks
interesting
like
too.
there's a door missing in here too.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, the next one we go to a
Ooh.
CCP that looks like it just came out of the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice action shot. And again, two Conrail engines in there.
Mhm.
And this could be almost anywhere on the route, but I'm guessing it's probably somewhere in central or western Iowa. Lone Star, Texas, according to the caption, RS1
Wow.
in 1978.
That might have been a GMO engine, huh?
Yes, it would have come from the GMO.
I think there's one behind it that hasn't been repainted yet.
Yes.
Hmm.
It could have been that, or it could have been one of the IC dip jobs.
Yeah, because didn't they? Well, it would be LY Central Golf. I don't know. Is the emblem? What did they do to the emblem when they joined the two railroads? Did they put the line down the middle of the split rail? They call it.
No, they had the split rail. The emblem you see on the end of the hood.
Yeah, That's
Right.
an IC emblem or an ICG emblem.
That was more, I think they implemented that when they changed to, when they merged with the Gulf, that became the emblem. The G kind of disappeared.
Okay.
Not sure where that is. That could be just south of Chicago, possibly, near the yard just south of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Was it common to use the CC initials?
I'm sorry?
Was it common to use the CC initials? Or did they
Yes, it
spell
was.
out the name? Okay,
Yep. It was a lot easier than spelling it all out.
yeah.
Mm.
I like this shot. Nice action shot crossing the road,
Mhm.
hazy summer morning, foggy summer morning.
Mhm.
Somebody got a nice meat.
Nice.
I really like the frog eyes that they used on the Jeep 10s.
Mhm.
How do you model that?
I think they
Um,
come that way, don't they?
very carefully. No, those were added.
Yeah.
Those were added by the shops, probably in Centralia or someplace.
No, I
Um,
meant the Illinois, the Intermountain ones. You can get them with the bug eyes.
Intermountain, yes, you can. Yes, as far as I know, Intermountain's the only one that's modeled the Jeep 10s,
Yeah.
and I've got a couple of them. Ex-Milwaukee Road in Chicago in CCP.
Mhm.
CCP got, I think they went through and got every old Jeep they could find from Northwestern and IC and Milwaukee and anybody else they could find
Yeah,
at the
no-
beginning. This is a nice Midwest rail
Yes.
photo.
Yeah.
Tonti, Illinois. It says, I just looked that up. That's let's see, it's not on the main line. It's on I think it's on the line, one of the branches going towards St. Louis. It's south of I-70 and just west of I-57.
Hmm.
And a little change of pace. Another Jeep 10 with the ox yoke air filter. This one does not have the frog eyes. It's got the two headlights on the nose.
Yeah.
There were all kinds of variations on these paint schemes. Chicago Central scheme was pretty sharp when it was
Yep.
fresh paint. This, I'm guessing, is along the Mississippi River between the junction and East Dubuque. So this would be joint trackage with IC and
BN.
either the Q or the B. Well, it would have been the BN by this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah, that last one did have quite a brace of engines on it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 on this one.
Mhm.
And I've seen a caption for this photo. It is in Iowa. I think it's east of Waterloo, but I'm not sure. A clean Jeep in the old
Yeah.
green diamond scheme.
Yeah. Look at that white.
Those GP28s, I think.
That's a
Yeah,
30.
probably. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, with the
Oh, 28? Really? Oh.
with fans, with the dual fans up there. No, I'm sorry. This is
38.
9400 series, I think, a Jeep 38.
38. Well, I know they have some 28s.
They did, yep, 20s and 28s. Another Jeep 10.
Mm.
They got pretty faded.
Yeah.
And this is in Georgia.
Oh my God. Yeah,
This is East Dubuque. This is the other end of the tunnel. This is the east end of the tunnel. I always like this signal.
yeah.
Notice it has two sets of headlights.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Oh, wow.
That top set did have a flashing scheme to it. It wasn't a gyro light, but I think it did swivel.
Well, there's a red light below the two
Warning,
luminars.
warning light. Yeah.
This I think is MU
No,
coupling.
no, go up to the top of the cab. There's two white
Oh,
lights.
you're right. Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
More Jeeps. Oh, an Amtrak did run on the line. The Blackhawk
That's right. Yep.
between Dubuque and Chicago ran for 2 or 3 years, I believe. I think over that time they probably had 2 or 3 passengers.
One for each car.
And this station, I'm guessing, might be Warren, Illinois, but I'm not certain of that. Nice SD 40-2.
Mhm.
And that's in the newer paint scheme, the final paint scheme.
Mhm.
94 was the caption. Another SD 40-2, probably. And that looks like pretty fresh paint, so that might be early 70s, maybe.
Yeah. Ooh, wow.
And yes, we did get Northwestern pictures as well. So Northwestern SD 40-2.
Yeah.
3 of them, or 3, or at least 3. I can't tell the fourth one.
Mm. Don't snore it. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Oh, look at that. Is that second engine Reading?
That's
No,
precision.
it's precision scale, or
Yeah.
precision
Precision National
engineering.
or engineering. Yeah. Oh, wow.
This one I can figure out. Yeah, Scales Mound, Illinois.
Ah.
The depot, I believe, is right behind the engines.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they had several tracks still in Scales Mound. One of these was a coal bin. I'm not sure what this building was. That's when they had when they still had business. 1984 is the time frame.
Yep. Oh, nice.
GM&O engines with orange and gray IC. I've been fascinated to see how many different striping schemes these orange and gray engines had. It seems like every one was different.
Oh, be darned.
Near Fort Dodge
Mm.
in 1980.
Hmm.
Let's see. Those look like, I think that first one's a Jeep 38.
Mhm.
First two at least.
Yep. Yep.
That doesn't really look like Iowa. It's heavily wooded. I don't see a stalk of corn anywhere.
Well,
Well, there are
that-
parts like that.
that was pretty rough country right there around Fort Dodge.
Yep. No idea where this is.
Hmm.
An interesting set of Jeep 30s.
On Elko trucks.
Yeah, Elko.
Yeah, on Elko trucks. Yeah, two Jeep 30s and that's probably a Jeep 7 or a 9 behind it. Neat photo though.
Very nice.
This is in Wallace Yard and just outside the crew building, and I think it's kind of interesting that they've got this railing just outside the door here. So
Yeah, you don't walk into a train.
yeah, careful when you walk out the door, huh?
Ah.
CCP carried an awful lot of coal from Omaha. They got it from the UP and carried it east toward Chicago. May have handed it off to go up into Wisconsin. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure this is Chicago.
Yeah.
And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 engines.
And you got one of the commie ones in the middle there.
Mm-hmm. This is also Wallace Yard. And this is the crew building that we saw just a moment ago in the photo. The step out, it must be down here. Yard looks pretty empty though.
It's not Dixon, is it?
Not for CCP. This might be
Oh,
the
okay.
Fox River
Mm.
in Illinois.
Mhm. Mhm. Sure.
And we're getting close on time, so.
We can, yep, yeah, we can cut it off anytime. I just
Yeah,
thought I'd share some of those. Just some
those
fun
are
photos.
really great shots.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done.
Very nice.
All right, well, we got to run to our last planning meeting for our convention next week. So thanks very much, Clark and Bob, for presenting. And we will skip next week. We will not have a meeting next week because a lot of us will be busy. And we'll resume the following week. So that, I guess, would be May 9th. We'll get back to it.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Have a great Thursday.
Yeah.
Good night, all.
Good luck
Good
next
night.
week.
Thank you.